Welcome in. Please have a seat. And don't mind that body in the corner. He's just been dying to meet you. Tonight we have a scary tale for you that is sure to captivate you. We're going to be listening to Chapter 1 of Bookmail. It's a story about Lexi, who is a social media influencer. She loves to hang out and do book reviews. Well, she ends up getting taken by her favorite author, and now finds that all these books that she's been reviewing are true. Now she's got to find a way to change the narrative before she becomes the main character of his next novel. So here is Chapter 1 of Bookmail. Listen in.
Chapter 1. Lexi looked at the message she had received, still not sure what to make of it. "Hey, thank you for the order of my latest book. I see you live in Pekin. I just so happen to be driving into Peoria tomorrow night for a family reunion and can drop off your copy rather than mailing it out. Let me know what you would prefer." She looked at the message again. Her favorite author was coming into town and was willing to hand-deliver the signed copy of his latest book that she had ordered. She was going to meet him. She couldn't believe it. She was really going to get a chance to meet him, and it wasn't going to be in some stuffy bookstore where she'd have to wait in line for an hour for a quick 2-minute hello while he scribbled his name. No, she would have him all to herself. He would give her the book, sign and make it out to her. She could talk to him, ask him about where he got his ideas from. He wrote masterfully, always in such fine detail, understanding and really pulling her into his character's thoughts. It was going to be great. All she had to do was say yes. They could meet, and he would drop off the book. He would be there, and she would have him all to herself. Lexi quickly switched over to a different messaging app, this one not associated with her book purchase, and quickly scanned her contacts. She found the smiling, goofy face of her best friend and opened the long, ongoing chat session that had existed ever since both had joined the platform. "OMG, you are not going to believe it!" As it was just after 1, and they had talked only an hour ago, she doubted her friend was asleep. She had barely set down her phone when the screen lit up with a new message. "What up?" Lexi was going to type it out to her friend, but the thought of trying to explain it while she was this excited seemed like too much. Amanda knew who her favorite author was, but to explain that he was on his way to meet her was going to take more than her shaking hands could handle. Besides, it wasn't like Amanda was a fan of his. She rarely dabbled into the whole splatterpunk thing, so they weren't really for her. Her taste was more in line with the dark romance craze, which was okay with Lexi, just not her jam. Had she talked to Amanda about the demon seat? That was one of Lexi's favorites. It was about a girl who summoned a demon, but she didn't know anything about circle protection or any kind of protection, really. So when the demon came, it had not only attacked her, but had raped and impregnated her with its demon spawn. The child had grown up to be some kind of antichrist. The book itself had been graphic and over the top, but that was what she liked about it. It was one of his newer books and was a lot more twisted than another book he wrote, Witchy Woman. If she was being honest, they were almost the same plot, but Witchy Woman was out of print, So maybe he had rewritten it and re-released it? Who knows? And truly only hardcore fans like her would have even heard of the older book. Come on, what the scoop? Lexi saw her phone light up again with the new message. Lexi ignored her friend's message and switched back to the shopping app where she'd purchased Skull's latest release. She saw the thumbnail of the book she was excited to read, the dark background with a large mailbox in the center, the word Bookmail scratched above it, which was the title. She opened the message she had received from the author and clicked on the U-turn-shaped icon. The reply window opened, and she typed her message. Lexi pulled into the well-lit parking lot of the large department store, a little self-conscious of no other cars being there. She knew it made sense. The store had closed hours earlier, and it was late. There was nothing to worry about, right? This guy was a famous author, not some creep she had found on a dating site. She had already bought the book and told him who to make it out to, so he was just dropping it off and then heading to his hotel. He was only in town for a family reunion, so it was a coincidence that he was even there. Meeting him there just saved them both on shipping, and she got to meet him. How cool was that? It was extremely cool. So why did the butterflies fluttering in her stomach make her feel like they were eating her on the inside? Probably because she had just spent the last 24 hours being berated by Amanda, telling her she was being a moron for meeting some guy she didn't know in the middle of the night. This was getting kidnapped 101. Lexi was doing all the things she shouldn't be doing. Yet, here she was, with Amanda not talking to her, and so far, nothing to prove her friend wrong. She parked in the center of the lot where it was the brightest. Her car was turned so that she could see any cars coming in and out of the parking lot. Just because she wasn't worried about Skulls trying to do anything, it didn't mean the rest of the world was safe. This was Peoria, after all, and crime had only been getting worse every year. Every day she heard there were more and more shootings. And why couldn't you meet him in the morning? He was busy. He had a full day tomorrow. This was just easier for him to stop by on his way to the hotel. The department store was right off Route 6, and the hotel was half a mile down Knoxville Avenue. This was just a quick pit stop for him, and she was the one getting to meet him and get the signed book. It made sense that she inconvenienced herself. She listened as the night quieted around her, until the droning of the cars on the nearby highway became a lullaby of white noise. She could feel herself struggling to keep her eyes open as the constant hum of the traffic kept weighing down her eyelids, ready to pull her into sleep. Yeah, he's going to show up and I'll be asleep and miss him. Lexi tried to keep her eyes open, but time passed. She could feel herself drifting off. Until something pounded on her driver's side window. Her eyes shot open, and she pulled herself up in her seat. Her breath caught in her throat, joined by her heart that was trying to escape. She had slipped down as she had been drifting off, but now was upright. If she'd been any taller, she'd have hit the steering wheel, but for once her short legs were a good thing. She felt like a klutz as she worked to remember how to roll down the window, then after trying to do so, realized that with the car off, there was no power for it to go down. She reached for the handle to open the door, but realizing she'd push him back with the door if she tried to open it, she reached for the ignition to start the car to lower the window. And what if it wasn't him? What if it was some random stranger? All of that seemed like it happened in a fraction of a second, as her mind struggled to pull free from her previous slumber. As it did, she realized just how bad it had to have looked. She could feel the heat rising to her cheeks and felt that right there, she was going to die of embarrassment. "Lexi, you are such an idiot!" "Sorry." Didn't mean to wake you. Are you Lexi? Lexi looked out her window at the tall, older guy who stood outside. It was hard to see him as the damn light was behind him, darkening all his features. She could just make out his scruffy beard and glasses, but she was fairly sure this was Jacob Skulls. It looked like he had the right build, but the rest was lost to shadow. He looked scummier than she would have expected. While the black and gray beard was never well kept in his book jacket photo, the man looking down at her was a dogged mess. Not only was his hair all over the place, he wore an old laundry-faded black shirt that had some old metal band on the front. Mega something, she couldn't quite make it out. There were holes in the fabric, and it looked like it hung off him like it was 2 sizes too big for his frame. If this man hadn't said her name, her first thought would have been that this was some random homeless person who happened on her in her car. She still wasn't entirely certain it wasn't. Maybe this was someone who knew her from somewhere, and that was how he got her name. This is a mistake. You should never have agreed to this. Don't get out of the car. Don't you dare. Lexi caught herself from reaching for the door handle, no longer sure about any of this, but let it hang over the lock button instead. Had she locked the car when she'd first parked? She tried to remember. She had a hard enough time locking it when she went into the store, something Amanda had criticized her for many times in the past. Remembering to lock it when she'd parked and was sitting inside of it, she had no clue. Maybe? He must have noticed her reluctance as he nodded and backed away from the car, raising his hands as he did. Sorry, didn't mean to frighten you. I was supposed to meet someone here. Really, I guess I was mistaken, Skulls said, as he turned and was walking back to what she assumed was his car. He must have pulled in while she had drifted off and missed him coming into the lot. He was parked a few spots away, just on the edge of the pool of light from the overhead lamp. Damn, it really is him. What are you thinking? He just had a long drive. Of course he doesn't look as well-groomed as his publicity photo. How well do you think you look before your first cup of coffee and a chance to put on makeup? She pushed open the door and slid out of the car. Mr. Skulls? Lexi called out. He had just reached his car, and she could hear his key slide into the door. That was when she took notice of the old vehicle. It was a large, box-shaped automobile that looked like a dinosaur in the land of time forgotten. It was rusted in various places that finished the sparkling red that almost flowed in the little reflection of light it caught. She thought it was an Oldsmobile or a Buick. Were they the same thing? She didn't know much about cars, especially old ones like that. Slowly, the older man turned around to face her. She could see him a little better, and it caught her off guard. His t-shirt and regular everyday-looking blue jeans stood out as strange in the early August heat. His face was sunburnt to a bright red, as though he'd been outside all day, and his hair was windblown, allowing the scar that ran along his forehead to be clearly seen. She didn't remember that in his photo, though she guessed it could have been recent, or photoshopped. Lexi? Was she really doing this? Lexi, just get back in your car. No book was worth risking your life. She wanted to argue with herself, but all of her agreed this was a really dumb idea, which is why it surprised her when the words escaped her. This was incredibly stupid, yet she just couldn't stop herself from doing it. This was why she was always dating the wrong types of people. Yeah, that's me. Ah, good. Thought I may have come across someone homeless and that you'd already left. Sorry for being so late. It was a long drive down from Wisconsin, and my bladder doesn't hold up like it used to. Sorry to hear that. It is what it is. He stayed by his car, not making any movement to get closer to her. He seemed just as uncomfortable as she did, looking around at the empty lot as he fidgeted with his hands. Maybe he was just as afraid of her as she was of him. He looked down at them as though noticing for the first time what he was doing, and put them in his pockets before looking up at her. He forced a weak smile. Sorry. Usually not one for meeting new people. I like to stay pretty private. I'm kind of a hermit that way. Oh, I get it. I'm the same way. I usually only talk to my best friend. Oh? Is she here too? You didn't come alone, did you? He craned his neck, looking around her. She supposed he was trying to see into her car, but he quickly gave up to look around at the empty lot, again scanning to make sure no one was there. Yeah, just stupid old me. She wasn't happy that I came. She's not currently talking to me. Sorry to hear that, he said, but she didn't get the sense that he cared at all. So, I got your book. I signed it before I left, so it should be good to go. He was talking as he opened the back car door and reached in. He pulled out a shopping bag wrapped around a rectangular object. The cover of the book was just barely visible through the thin plastic. Lexi walked over to him, excited to have and hold the new book. Before she realized what she was doing, she snatched it out of his hands, even surprising the older man. Whoa, he said as he took a step back from her, quickly scanning the area, looking for anyone who might be ready to jump him. Sorry, I just love your books and can't wait to read this one. Oh? Going to start right now? He was watching her as she studied the bag. Oh, no, I gotta fix my reveal of it first. You don't mind, do you? Lexi was already pulling out her phone from her hip pocket in her shorts. I'd rather not, sorry. Oh. The disappointment was clear in her voice, and she fought herself from giving him her pouty face. She didn't think he would go for it, no matter how well it did with her followers. Okay, then. I hope you like it. I'm sure I will. I love all your books. Oh? Which one's your favorite? The Demon Seed. Really? Huh. I wouldn't have guessed that. No? Not really. What happened to the main character in that one was brutal. I didn't see you being into that type of thing. Lexi could feel her cheeks turning red as she became flustered, realizing what he'd just said. Oh, no, I'm not into that type of thing, you know. I just like the characters and how scary you made it. No, I'd never want to be, you know. Sure, he said, as he gave her a smirk that told her he didn't believe her. Thank you for the book, Lexi said, starting to back away towards her car, suddenly self-conscious and no longer wanting to spend time alone with the man smiling at her. There was something off about him. She noticed for the first time that he was wearing gloves, and he kept watching her as she backed away. She bumped into her car, not realizing she was that close to it. She briefly looked, checking that it was her car and not someone else's having magically arrived in the empty parking lot. Then she turned and opened the door, climbing in with only briefly taking her eyes off of him. She waited until he was in his car, then watched as his lights came on and the car was heading toward the exit before she looked at the bag. It was time for the unboxing video. Not that this was going to be a good one filmed in her car, but she couldn't wait. It was a new Skulls novel. It was given to her by the author himself. She just wanted to squeal. She grabbed her necklace phone mount and put it over her head so that she could be hands-free while recording. Not that it was actually called a necklace mount, but it was what she thought of it as the round piece of metal wore like a necklace around her neck, but it was solid, and on one side of it, a magnetic phone mount. The design worked so she could look down and have her hands free while unboxing products people sent to her to promote on her Flicks page. It looked unflattering, but no one would ever see the behind-the-scenes of her wearing it. "There we go," Lexi said to herself once the phone clicked into place. She couldn't help it. She was so excited as she opened her camera app and started recording. She held up the bag so that it was visible in the video, the light overhead giving it a nice ambiance. She just wished she could do something about her steering wheel. It made for a terrible background. She looked around the parking lot, and not seeing anyone, got out of her car. The out-of-focus blacktop of the lot was much better, she realized, as she held up the bag again, getting it into frame. "Hey everyone! Lexi Sexy here, Flicks fam. And guess what I have? I have the latest Jacob Skulls novel, and it was just given to me by the author himself. Sure, did I just travel to a spooky parking lot in the middle of the night and meet someone I didn't know? You're damn right I did. You know how you would get me into the back of the van? No candy for this girl. I just need books." Lexi added a little flair by shaking the bag in her hands, and figured when she actually posted the video later, she'd add spooky caption font to it to make it more visually appealing. "Okay, so are we ready?" Lexi pulled the wrapped book out of the bag, letting the plastic bag drop to the ground. She paused for a moment, confused at the black wrap around the book. It looked nice, but she could have sworn she'd seen the cover when he'd first presented it to her. Must have been her excitement playing tricks with her. "I'll pick that up later. Don't worry, everyone. I'm not a litter bug." But okay. So we have the book wrapped in what looks like black tissue paper. So festive. Nice and creepy, right? Lexi ripped open the paper until she had the book in her hands. "Here it is, his latest book. Cool title," she said, as she read, "A Book to Die For," on the front. She turned the book over, studying it, showing it to the camera. As she did, she noticed that there was something sticky on the cover. She pulled her hand away from it, looking at her fingers. There was some kind of residue on them. She sniffed it but couldn't place the acrid smell. She wasn't about to taste it. She needed to wrap up her video, but she suddenly felt very tired. The world around her grew unsteady. She wobbled, and not intending to, fell back against her car to use it as support. "I don't feel right, guys. I don't think Lexi Sexy is okay." Lexi saw a pair of glowing white eyes floating in the parking lot. "I know you, don't I?" she said to the red car as it pulled up. Lexi tried to open her own car door, sensing that she needed to get back in there. But why? It was hard to think of anything. It was like simple words and thoughts spun just out of her grasp as she struggled to keep her eyes open. Her eyelids fluttered while trying to do so, but they just grew heavier, becoming a weight she couldn't lift. She found herself lying on the ground, not sure how she'd gotten there. There was a pair of shoes in front of her, and it was getting dark. No, it wasn't, but someone was blocking the light. "Hello, someone?" She wasn't sure if she only thought of saying it, or if she'd actually said it. "This one seems like she's got a lot of spunk," a low, growling voice rumbled. "This should be fun." "Shush. I told you I got this one. Though I think you're right. She'll make an excellent MC." She heard voices. She thought she recognized one of them, but thoughts refused to form through the fog that grew more intense. She could feel her mouth opening and closing, but wasn't sure if words escaped her. Everything felt alien to her. Distant, like she was falling into her own mind, a prison that she couldn't escape to regain control. "For someone who said they've read all my books, I really am surprised you'd meet me in an empty parking lot." Lexi never had a chance to respond before she slipped into sleep, the drugs taking over.
I hope you enjoyed Chapter 1 of Bookmail. I hope to see you back soon. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe. And follow me for more tales. Stay spooky, everyone.